Hello, no one is available to take your call. Please leave a message after the tone.
I submit for your consideration as a top-tier morning clean, first-use public restroom, a public park restroom that's just been cleaned. I'm at a state park within 1 hour driving distance of Dayton, Ohio. I'm not going to give away my spot. But the groundskeepers have just been through. It's 9:15 on a Tuesday morning, and bathroom floor is so clean you could eat off of them. And did I? We'll never know.
TBTL.
Jake, what are you looking forward to most about this film?
Well, I think I'm looking forward to cracking up. I hope I can, totally crack up. So I haven't, totally cracked up in a long time.
Okay, I've got a funny guy for a partner. But seriously, you have to monitor your foot health. I'm going to send you a pedometer app that I use. You're going to love it. It has robust social features. We can give each other foot vibes.
Well, let's hope it doesn't come to that.
Go for counseling if you both feel that this relationship is worth keeping. If it's worth salvaging, then you need outside help. Okay?
I just came here to hit dingers and have a good time. That's about it.
Well, all right. Hello, good morning, and welcome, everyone, to a Wednesday edition of TBTL, the show that just might be too beautiful to live.
It's a kind of magic.
My name's Luke Burbank. I am your host.
I happen to know a guy who's at his limit.
Coming to you from New York City.
Live from New York.
Manhattan, to be specific. It's a gorgeous Wednesday here. It was possibly going to rain in the afternoon, but so far that has held off, and we are just absolutely loving life as we roll into episode 4,752 in a collector series.
Let the fun begin.
I'm in the Knickerbocker Hotel, and because CBS television does not authorize me to spend the big bucks on these hotel rooms, I am in the interior-facing wing of the hotel, which means basically that I'm looking at a brick wall, although it's not just a brick wall, it's a brick wall with a window in it. In fact, many windows, because it's some sort of office building, and there are people sitting in their cubicles and working at their desks and just occasionally looking over here to see me in this room podcasting. And I guess in 2026, that's not that weird. I'm probably the third podcaster to be working from this hotel room, maybe in the last couple of weeks. So anyway, shout out to those people over there doing whatever they're doing. What I'm doing here is trying to bring you the show in which we will be discussing, or during which we will be discussing, recent events in Arizona, where Alice Cooper, the heavy metal shock rocker, glam rock guy.
Heavy metal definitely rules. Twisted Sister, Jews pre-stocking. Ozzy, Scorpions, they all rule.
He had something happen involving a gas station and a normal civilian that was kind of interesting, and then had me asking a bunch of questions, and then also spending a significant portion of my morning here in New York City reading in on the history of Alice Cooper for some reason.
Is this a thing people care about?
No.
So we'll talk about that. Oh, and we'll talk to this guy. He's the longest-running co-bro of the show, maybe best known for his depictions of the tall ships. Speaking of music, he has not given up on his dreams of launching his musical career, even at this late date.
By Brendan.
He's Andrew Walsh, and he's joining me right now. Good morning, my friend.
Good morning, Luke. I had a moment of pure domestic, bliss this morning. I felt like a little, like a retro, 1970s or 80s era homemaker. Can I tell you about it? It was just...
Yes.
It just sparked a little bit of joy in me. Oh, it also... Well, it goes back to something that I learned in the grocery store the other day. So I was in the cereal aisle. I had Cheerios on my shopping list. I've been eating a lot of Cheerios in the morning lately. And I was like, well, maybe it's time to shake it up a little bit. I'm having this thought. I'm going rogue in the grocery store. I'm like, maybe I should get some, Crispex. That was my other go-to cereal.
That's crispy times two.
It's crispy times two. It's like it's like the shape of a, is it a stop sign? Would that be an octagon or a hexagon? They're a little hexagonal, I want to say. Little little cereal bites, and they're a lot like Chex, but they're corn on one side and rice on the other. That's their That's their whole claim to fame.
Right, and we know about your love of, as you mentioned with what are those double cream cookies the other day?
Oh,
you like a little variety.
Duplexes,
People think that you're too locked in to your ways, but no, you're all about variety.
In fact, that's what this is all about. This is about Andrew trying new things, but then retrofitting it into an old thing. Because I grew up eating Crispex. I still will buy a box from time to time now when I'm tired of my Cheerios, and I was about to do that. But then I saw boxes of Chex, just plain old Chex cereal, and there's a whole bunch of options. Like there's corn Chex and there's rice Chex, but then there's like blueberry flavored Chex and maybe strawberry. I think there's chocolate. Like there's all kinds of flavors. Well, I don't want to mess around with the flavors at all. I'm like, I just want the classic Chex with corn and rice Chex all mixed up in a box together. Basically like Crispex, only it's not corn on one side, rice on the other.
I didn't even know that was an option. So there was a Chex that they made, or that they still make, that's a combo. One Chex square will be corn and one Chex square will be rice, and they're all in the same cereal box?
No. They don't do that. You're absolutely right. I just assumed they did, and I'm standing there in the aisle forever, and I'm looking at the rice box and the corn box. I'm like, where is the box where they're combined into one? Like, who wouldn't want that? Also, as you said, like these food manufacturers, they're always coming up with new innovations because they have to like constantly roll out some sort of new product in order to. They're like a shark, right? They got to keep moving in order to survive. So why wouldn't they do that? That seems like a pretty simple thing. You've already got
$1 million idea you might have just had.
Right. So what do you think I did?
You bought you a box of rice Chex and a box of corn Chex, and you went home and drew the curtains. And then hours later, you combined the cereal and ate those.
I had to cleanse myself beforehand. I did. I bought 2 boxes of cereal because I was like, I can't make up my mind. And then I literally went for the Crispex box. I'm like, well, I guess this is why I'm a Crispex man. But then you know what? They only had the family size. And obviously, I'm going to eventually eat the entire box of cereal. It doesn't go bad that quickly.
Does it, though? Because that is, of all the things that I have experienced of them getting stale, sort of before I could consume all of them, I would say cereal is on that list.
Maybe. I've been eating a lot of cereal. It's like, for me, I get in the mode, and when I get in the mode, I can usually probably finish a box of cereal, after I don't know how many sittings. But when
we have no idea how your body processes cereal.
Exactly. But also, I'm pretty, as you would guess, vigilant about keeping that bag sealed up in there.
Yeah.
Like I have all kinds of chip clips and binder clips and stuff. I have a staple gun, a hot glue gun. I use Theragun for some reason, and I just really seal that son of a gun up. So my food tends to stay fresh in the little cabinet. But so I'm like,
you decided no on the family size.
But there's something, Luke, that I hate about a giant single container of things. I can't explain it. I'm sure we've talked about it on the show before, but like it just sort of galls me that they didn't have a regular size box of Crispex. I was like, I don't want this family size. I don't want the extra 3 inches on the top that are like painted yellow with big red letters that say family size or double scoop or extra. I was just like, no, I just want a regular box. So I do something that is totally counterintuitive to that. I buy 2 boxes of Chex, one of rice, one of corn, and then I bring them home and I draw the shades, as you said. The next morning or 2 mornings later, whatever, it's Monday morning, and it's time for me to have cereal, and I'm excited about this. So what do? I go to my cupboard, I get both boxes out, I mix them in the bowl. I put some strawberries and some blueberries in there, add a little bit of almond milk. I know it's bad for the environment. I'm sorry. And I went to town. It was great.
Hold on. Let me ask ChatGPT if almond milk is bad for the environment.
Let me ask this almond if ChatGPT is bad for the environment.
I only use the large language models that run on almonds.
Yeah. Oh, my God. Exactly. Anyway, so... I'm sorry. I'm getting frantic emails here from a contractor who was who's I have some cabinetry being unloaded or there's going to be delivered today, which is both exciting but also whatever. It's a little bit distracting. That's the sound of cabinetry arriving at my house. So for the first couple of days that I enjoy my mix of corn and rice, Chex, I actually do sincerely apologize for how long this is going. I mix them.
But hold on a second.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Spare no detail.
Okay.
So when you actually did this combo, this homebrew, it was like it paid off. It was like as delicious as you hoped it would be. So that was for my first question.
Yeah, it was good, and there is something different about the texture. It's a small difference, but like the squares of a Chex are a little bit more structurally sound than the slightly bigger Crispex. I like them both. Crispex, if you're listening, no disrespect, but variety is the spice of life, and nobody exhibits that more than your pal Andrew Walsh over here. So,
no crisp respect.
So
can I make crisp respect? I don't know. Keep going, please.
So anyway, for the first couple of mornings, what I do, I take down both boxes of cereals and I mix them in the bowl, and then I add the accoutrement, and then I eat. And then today, I'm pulling down both boxes of cereal, and I think to myself, what am I doing? Why don't you mix them in the box so that you have two boxes of the same product?
Duh.
And then I'm like, yeah, but how do I do that? I got to first pour them both out completely into a big giant bowl, which I do have one, and mix them up in there, and then pour them back into their boxes. And so I have two boxes of the same thing. I'm like, that pouring back into the box thing doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. And then I start thinking, well, what kind of containers do I have that could hold like a box of cereal? And I'm thinking,
really like a box and a half.
Really, a box and a half, yeah.
If you've eaten, let's say,
25%
of each box, this is why I scored a 12 on the SAT math component, and that's not good, by the way. You're probably looking at about 150% of one box of cereal still, right?
Yeah, exactly. At least, yeah, it's closer to two boxes, honestly, at this point than one. So I have this thought, well, boy, this is where you want those old Tupperwares of yesteryear, because they actually made one that was specifically for cereal. I'd forgotten about this, and I think we had that. And that solves your problem, right? Of cereal going bad too quickly. You get home, you pour the cereal directly in the Tupperware thing, you recycle the box, or if this is the 80s, you set the box on fire with your cigarette and throw it out the window. And then you pour it out.
Get a couple kids in the car, roll up all the windows, and burn down the cereal box while driving around.
Kick your dog. Anyway, so then I'm thinking, wait a second, I don't have that specific cereal Tupperware thing, but I cast my eyes upwards at this set of Tupperware, like cylinder containers that we bought at a yard sale years ago that I love and can't part with, but have very little use for in my lifetime. Like, it's just, they're too tall. Like, you wouldn't put leftover noodles or something in them. They're too tall and cylindrical, but it's a set of 3 or 4 of these things, each one
clear?
A little bit wider than the next. No, they're white. Although you can probably picture them in like orange or olive green. That's the classic colors.
Does the lid have little ridges on it?
Exactly what I was going to say. You have little ridges on the lid that not spiral but radiate outwards from the center, if you can picture that. And so it's those things, and they're tall cylinders, right? So I take the biggest one of that. The biggest one of these things has probably never been used in our house before, and again, we've had these for years. And I'm like, this is big enough for 2 boxes of cereal. So I take a box in each hand, Luke. I'm right-handed. But I can get some stuff done with my left hand, so I take a box in each hand and I shake them together into that vintage, right? Because it's actually from the day, Tupperware, and mixed it up in there, and then took it out of there and poured it into my cereal bowl, sealed the lid, put the Tupperware back in the cereal cabinet, and I just felt it was so nice to have a use for this Tupperware that I love and can't part with, and I'm so glad I held on to it.
That is so satisfying. Now, the one thing is, I feel like, and maybe this was just our dishwasher not working great, or us not being great at washing dishes when I was a kid, because we had a dishwasher that was so lousy that you had to pre-wash the dishes, and or sometimes you just washed all the dishes. But I feel like I can smell that Tupperware. It's not a bad smell. It's just the smell of that Tupperware container. And my question is, does any of that infuse? And again, it's not about it being unhygienic or whatever. It's just there is a very distinct smell of Tupperware from that era in my mind. Does any of that get into the cereal?
No. I kind of know what you're talking about, but if you were using one of these containers And I'm struggling here because I'm also trying to remember a really funny, I don't know if it was like The Onion or Reductress or one of those parody sites that
the Babylon Bee.
It was probably the
I know you're a big Babylon Bee guy.
Exactly. The very first one of those, by the way, I'm pretty sure like the first one that like kind of got some traction even before The Onion was the Weekly Week, and it was out of Boston. And when I was,
I don't think I've ever even heard of
yeah,
that.
and I was obsessed with it in college. I was obsessed with it because the internet was newer at the time. But I do remember like the Weekly Week having it like bookmarked, and that's the one where there was an article about a semicolon who was going to step out of the punctuation game for a while because I think nobody really knew how to use it properly. And the last line of the article, I'm going to look this up. The last line of the article was, when asked about his future plans, the semicolon said he will pause but not stop.
And you know that the entire thing was in service of that final line.
Luke, I swear to God, that was a joke written in a parody newspaper that no longer exists, probably in 1997. And that I think about that all the time. It will pause.
How cool for the person who wrote that article and that joke.
Yes.
Like that this is still something that you consider, and now it's been passed on to tens of listeners by way of this show.
Yes, I'm looking at Weekly Week, semicolon. But to your point, I can't remember the joke that I'm trying to quote here from one of those types of outlets, but there is something about, like, especially with the modern days, like kind of plastic storage units, like if you put, like, I don't know, a spaghetti kind of meal in there, something with marinara or whatever, it'll like become like red stained, and it'll kind of maybe capture some of the smell of garlic or something like that. The ones that are sold in the store these days are a little bit more disposable, so when they get like that, you can toss them. But yeah, if Tupperware gets like that, I don't know. I'll be honest with you. I just think my mom was really meticulous, or told us to be very meticulous. So I think we just didn't really have that in our Tupperware.
Yeah, and we had, as you might imagine, hearing about my childhood, everything was mismatched. Everything was like, when stuff even went into Tupperware was a real open question. There's probably some Tupperware that just had foil over the top because nobody could find a lid that fit with that particular thing. Nowadays, by the way, Becca had me. I don't even know if it was real Tupperware or that sort of Gladware, which is what I think you're talking about. That stuff that's like, it's sort of in an uncanny valley of, is this multi-use or not? It feels like it should be, but it's not as durable as the stuff that our moms were forced to buy at Tupperware parties and or were sometimes forcing on other people. But I got rid of, I have all glass stuff now because,
Oh, yeah, that's nice.
Microplastics and the like. Now, Andrew, I got to throw one quick thing at you regarding Chex, which you've talked about and in fact, now that you have your whole system, I don't think you need this, but it looks like, at least at some place called BJ's Wholesale Club, I am seeing Chex cereal, and get a load of this. It's rice, it's corn, and it's wheat. It's
three.
All three styles of Chex rice, Chex corn, and Chex wheat in the same box. But it says perfect for making party mix, because this is the thing about Chex. I would argue that it is possible that Chex is consumed more as a party mix than it is as a cereal these days, because the party mix is so popular.
I would totally agree with that. In fact, I noted on the front of one of these boxes, they show the Chex being eaten as a cereal, like it was when I was standing in the store being like, how do they not sell a combo of these things?
This was at SARS, right?
This was at the QFC on Holman Road, which will also potentially be where I get my pneumonia shot at some point if I ever have the gumption to go back there and do that. But just step over my bad phlebotomist, who is in the pasta aisle, get to the back of the store and say, somebody shoot me up. That's my plan. But I'm standing there in the aisle and I'm looking and I'm like, where's the combo box? I learned there isn't. But because of that, I'm staring at the box fronts for a while. And I noticed that half of the box art features it as a cereal and the other half features it as a Chex mix with all of the pretzel bits and whatever in there. But they had to put a note for legal reasons that it said something like only the Chex cereal contained within, or something like that, because they didn't want you to think that you were buying the mix that is prominently displayed on the front, if that makes sense.
They're like, we'll sell you this Chex What you do with it after that is between you and your God.
Exactly.
I don't care if you eat it like cereal, if you make it into a mix. That's a personal decision. You know this is related but unrelated, and I would say more on the unrelated side is ranch dressing versus the ranch dip. I didn't grow up in a family where we had a lot of ranch dip. We did have some ranch dressing around in the refrigerator, and I guess I always just thought that when you had ranch dip somewhere, you were just having ranch dressing. But oh no, the ranch dip is a powder, and you mix it with some kind of other stuff, I think, and it's really good. It wasn't until I was in my second marriage, my most recent marriage, where Carrie would, whip up crudité or do things, and I would be like, this ranch dressing is incredible. She'd go, because it's not ranch dressing, it's the ranch dip.
I don't eat.
I know that's way
that
outside of your
space,
comfort zone.
And what is the difference?
Well, I think you mix the ranch powder. Okay, you mix that with, I want to say, sour cream of some kind. So it is obviously a different consistency than the ranch dressing that is in the bottle. But I think what happened really was one time we were doing something and I was tasked with getting stuff at the store and I bought ranch dressing. I was like, well, here we go. This is the dip for the carrots. And she was like, oh, no. Ranch dip. You can't just buy ranch dip, or at least it's the way that most people do it is you buy a packet of powder that is made not to be ranch dressing, but is a ranch dip powder.
Okay.
And you mix that with some sour cream. I think that's what it is that you've already bought. Or you've bought separately, you mix those together, and that's your ranch dip.
I see.
It is not the same as the thing that's in the bottle. And the interesting part about that, Andrew, and yes, there is something interesting about this.
I was wondering, yeah.
Yeah, just,
Let me come back to the cereal aisle over here.
I once did a story many years ago about ranch dressing for TV, and I actually went to the location of the quote-unquote Hidden Valley Ranch outside of Santa Barbara, and it is not a ranch. It's not on a valley either. It's kind of hidden because you got to go down a long driveway, but it is nothing like what's on the bottle of Hidden Valley Ranch. If you've ever looked at the bottle, and again, I know you're not a big creamy sauces guy, but that ranch dressing was credited. The guy who was credited with inventing it was a dude who was a plumber in Alaska, and he liked to experiment with stuff, and he started making this kind of dressing thing, this whatever it was, that was what we now call ranch dressing. And people really seemed to like it. And eventually he sold his plumbing business and he moved to California to open this hotel. He'd always dreamed of having a hotel called the Hidden Valley Ranch. So he bought this place, and it wasn't very successful as a hotel. But what was very popular was him mailing out packets of this dry powder through the back of magazines for his ranch dressing or ranch dip. And so in the original days of this whole thing, it was just the powder. And then at some point, they started bottling. He sold it off to Clorox, literally, or a company that then eventually sold to Clorox. And then they started putting it in bottles, and you could just buy it bottled. But the origin of the thing is, I feel like it was in the back of the New Yorker. This powder you could buy, and it was right next to the guy who sold berets in the back of the New Yorker.
Yeah. Are they still selling berets in the back of the New Yorker?
I don't think there is a back of the New Yorker in the way that we think about it. Although I've got a whole lot of them at my house. I could double check that. But I think the days of the sort of language lessons and buying the beret with that one guy who was the model for the berets in the back of the New Yorker, I think those days are over.
I did find an archive, by the way, of the Weekly Week. But it's very, very bare bones. And I know in here somewhere is the semicolon, and I'm trying to find it, but I did find another good. First of all, the last two articles that were written, looks like the headline in October 22nd, 1998, all caps headline, "Snakes are everywhere." And then it looks like their final issue, November 5th, 1998, is "An apology to our readers, snakes not everywhere."
That's a pretty good
There
joke.
was another one in here that I was just looking at that said something like, lawmakers pass legislation to simplify tax code, jazz. Which I thought was pretty good.
Pretty good.
I'm telling you, there was a time, and this sounds so like I don't like your indie band because I'm into my indie band that was doing it first or whatever. But I swear there was a time in the mid to late 90s where I was saying, I don't like this young thing called The Onion. I'm into the Weekly Week. Like, I really remember thinking, well, the Weekly Week is the OG. The Weekly Week is going to be what stays here forever. It has lasting power. Those kids at The Onion, sure, they're funny too in their own little way. And of course,
the Weekly Week is Friendster, which will never die.
Exactly.
I'm not into this Facebook.
I literally was probably
crapola.
sharing Weekly Week stuff on Friendster. You're not even wrong.
That's really funny. In fact, this was something I was talking to Tim Heidecker about last week when we were interviewing about the fact that The Onion is going to be taking over Infowars.com. And I was just asking him about kind of, the impact of The Onion on, his comedy sensibility. And he was saying, it was kind of everything to him. And I was telling him about, picking up the first, before it was even a website, or at least before I had access to the web. I remember I was probably either in Pagliacci's Pizza on the Ave or, some other kind of like slightly alternative space where they would also have a little kind of free newspapers and whatever, and just picking something up called The Onion and like taking it back to my dorm room or whatever, my apartment, and just reading and just tears. You know what it reminds me of? Like when I watched I Think You Should Leave, and my memory of it is it was actually weirdly in the morning, and I was in a hotel, and I was just sending you and Chris Hayes clips, or at least saying, "Oh my God, have you guys watched this yet?" Like it was like a revelatory experience with me and the kind of comedy that I like.
I remember sitting in the airport in, I want to say, Adelaide. Is that
watching
where we flew
Bill Maher's
into?
New Rules? And be like, have you seen this guy?
That's right. No, with you in Australia, when you talk about I Think You Should Leave, I remember you telling me about it on the show, but it might have even been, Luke, before we knew it was called that. It might have been that Netflix showcase show. The characters that showcase various comedians and sort of acted
Maybe
as a pilot for various things. And I remember you told me about it on the show, and then I think this is what, okay, here's what I think maybe the truth is here. I think you told me about his features that were on the character show, and like, I don't know, a few weeks before that. And then it became the show I Think You Should Leave, and you might have been watching that either as you were getting ready to go to the Australia trip or on the Australia trip or something like that, because then you were telling me about more sketches as we were sitting there. I mean, we were already in Australia. We had traveled for 13 hours, but still had another 5-hour flight. And I think
Nobody told me that about Australia, by the way, that just getting there, you could still be 5 hours from somewhere else in Australia by airplane.
Yes, right. And I remember like where you had just eaten your Hungry Jack, I believe, and you're telling me about this show, and I'm like, okay, I'll watch it. Stop telling me everything. I'll watch it, and I did.
It really paid off. Although, still batting, I'm still putting up Rob Refschneider numbers with getting Becca to embrace it. I just tried to sneak a little of the Tim Heidecker charades sketch in on her because because obviously I interviewed him last week, as I've already mentioned, and I've been talking about him a lot with you and also just with people in my life, including Becca. So I was like, oh, and she was like, is he part of the like whatever that Tim Robinson thing is? I was like, no, but he's on there a lot. He's not like, one of the writers, but there's a lot of crossover. And I was like, including this one where he's like this guy who's way too old for his girlfriend, and they're doing charades, and then I'm showing it to her, just like, and she's very like yes and very supportive of me, and generally, if I'm like, oh, you'll love this book or this song, she's pretty receptive. She sat there, did not at any moment crack a smile, and I was like, I guess I just have to know when I'm beat. There's no getting her to get into the Tim Robinson universe,
especially going into it with that kind of energy. And I'm not blaming you necessarily. Well, I guess I'm blaming you.
Is there a gateway sketch that would be better? Because every time I show her a sketch, I think, well, that was the wrong sketch. But then I've had that experience like 15 times. Is there a right sketch?
I just feel like at this point, I just feel like you can't turn back the clock at this point. You know what I mean? Like there's too much pressure. There's too much pressure. She knows how important it is to you. Like just let it go. And that's the type of show that I do think that one of the reasons, I mean, listen, it imprinted on you and a lot of people because it's hilarious, but also it is the kind of thing that it feels a little personal when you first discover it. And that sense of discovery is part of the appeal of it, even though it's widely popular, obviously, at this point.
Well, also, what I'm remembering now is I was trying to explain where Tim Heidecker's humor and why I love it so much. So I didn't start with that sketch from I Think You Should Leave. I started with the Tim Heidecker and Eric Wareheim sketch where they're selling prices.
Oh God, yeah, I forgot about that one.
It's so funny. It's like
me of it.
It's like, imagine just like a really cheap local mattress commercial where it's like, come on down, we have Sealy, we have Posturepedic for $99.99. We have whatever, except it starts with Tim Heidecker saying, come on down to Tim's discount prices. I got every price. I got $29.99. What they're selling are the prices. I got $15.99. I got $21.72. And then right when you think that's the joke, it's just that he sells prices, then Eric Wareheim somehow pushes his commercial off of the screen and says like, lay an egg. Forget Tim's prices. They're overpriced. Come to Eric's premium prices. And then he's doing an ad for his competing price store that also sells prices, but different prices. But then the commercials start to overlap where they're making increasingly crazy allegations about each other. Like at one point, Eric Wareheim is like fishing out a price out of a river. He goes, look at one of these Tim's prices. I'm not going to feed my family with that. It's tiny. Throw it back.
I remember this now.
Yeah. And then it's like, it just gets into like all of this insanity. And then, of course, because it's Tim and Eric, it's like at one point, I think it's Eric has like chopped Tim's head off and then blood is flying everywhere. I'm sure Vic Berger probably edited this one. Like, what I realized upon trying to show this to Becca was like, this is not a good audition. This is not a good entry point into Tim Heidecker's humor because it's just yelling. There is at least one reference of compulsive masturbation. Someone's getting their head chopped off.
Yeah.
It's insanity.
Yeah.
I love it, but it's pure insanity.
Yeah, yeah. And you got to be in the right mindset. And there's just something about somebody being like, you got to watch this. You're going to love it.
Yes.
And if you're already a little
and
bit
they're
like,
sitting there while you watch
sitting
it.
There.
Too.
Yeah, like Genevieve, at first, that's what she was like when I had her read my diary. I would sit, when we were first dating, I would like sort of sit next to her and I'd be like, well, I've been writing a lot about you. I'm joking about that, but that one of my early paramours did that to me in college.
Whoa.
I don't have a lot of, you can probably tell by the lack of stories about previous girlfriends or whatever that I didn't really have a lot. In fact, I don't know if you know this about me. I assume you did at some point. Like literally Genevieve is my first long-term relationship. And so far it's
I
working
never
out
wanted
okay,
to ask.
but like
I figured based on context clues, but also I just, I felt like you would share it with me when you were ready. And apparently that's today,
25
June
years.
17th, 2026. Okay.
No, but I mean, it is a little bit strange, right? Because I had, I was, you would say I was a late bloomer. I don't think that's fair to blooms because I think I had bloomed. I just wasn't getting the opportunities, or in some cases, I now realize identifying and acting upon some opportunities.
Little of column A, little of column B.
Yeah, exactly. So, so I didn't even kiss a girl until I was in college, and then I had like, I don't know, 2 or 3 about month-long liaisons, but like maybe 3 tops, I would say. I spent a lot of time pining after some unrequited stuff and had little adventures here and there. But as far as relationships were concerned, I really didn't have okay, we are exclusive. I might have done that with 2 or 3 women or girls. And you would really expect then, if Genevieve was my first like actual relationship, we shouldn't have lasted this long, right? Like that's kind of isn't that kind of weird? Like usually,
I don't think weird is the right way to describe it, but I would say maybe atypical.
You'd think the first one would be like, okay, I dated for a year or 2, and then like I'd never have been in a relationship that's like a year or even like 6 months.
No, but the reason I think what you had going for yourself was that you were out of college, even if only very briefly. I think the reason that usually first kind of very serious relationships don't go the distance is because the people are in high school or college, and there's an immense amount of growing and changing that goes on for the people, and it's it's pretty unusual to meet someone at 17 or meet someone even at 20, and then as you go through all those life changes as a person, for that relationship to somehow survive all of that. It's like that's the challenge. But you were out of college, so you were. I mean, that was a plus. That was a pro, I think, for you too.
Yeah, and I'm just a very patient person, and I put up with all of Genevieve's.
Absolutely.
Peccadillos.
Yes.
Peccadillos.
Wait till she sees what you're doing with the family Tupperware. Has she signed off on this?
Hey, Luke, guess what I just found?
Your weekly week.
October 22nd. The reason I was having so much trouble finding this was it was just included in a local news brief. So I've been over here like clicking into all of these links, just looking for it. This is a local news brief from October 22nd, 1998. Let's see here. Earth, wind, and fire ants cut smoke and groove in local man's backyard.
Okay, I'll go with it.
That was the first. MIT mathematician proves 6 of one, half dozen of the other are indeed equal. That's coming out of Cambridge. Again, this is a very Boston-centric publication. And then here, semicolon quits in disgust. Now, I'm reading this kind of cold here, and we'll see how close I am on that last line. This is kind of long, and the print is small, and it's definitely not funny. So
Is this a thing people care about?
No.
Here it is. The semicolon shocked the punctuation community yesterday by abruptly resigning in what he called, quote, complete and utter disgust. Quote, I'm beat to death with centuries of abuse, misuse, and misunderstanding. I've suffered endless taunts from the other punctuation. I'm called a weak period. Colon and comma's love child. Both comma and colon refuse to comment on the semicolon's lineage. This on top of what can only be termed as complete and unparalleled humiliation at the hands of gastroenterology humorists everywhere, continued the semicolon. I don't need this grief. You people are so damn smart, find your own way to separate an independent clause and phrases when followed by a conjunctive adverb without using a conjunction. Go ahead. When asked for comment, the exclamation point shouted, it's jealousy, plain and simple. Let me skip ahead here. I'm just going to skip that one because I don't feel like yelling so much. And then the final sentence is, when asked what his plans for the future were, semicolon stated, quote, I plan to pause but not stop completely. From 1998. I think I said 1995 before.
That's pretty good.
But still stuck in my brain. It doesn't say there's no writing credit.
That does feel like comedy that would have either been received very well via the Capitol steps or a guy standing at a piano.
Or a guy standing on the Capitol steps.
Or like they used to do the Prairie Home Companion had the All Jokes show.
Yes. Knock. I used to love the All Joke Show. I lived for it. I waited for it all year.
Well, it's so funny because, so to speak, because I always say that like I didn't grow up in a public radio household at all. Like that wasn't necessarily the energy, but I do have these weird memories. Maybe it was like college and I was just back home visiting or something. I have a memory of listening to the joke show with. Like my mom and dad, like were in the kitchen and listening, and they're laughing, and I thought it was cool that like my dad thought this was funny too. Like I remember experiencing that with my parents, which would mean that maybe we were listening to some amount of public radio in the house. I mean, I did. What I know is that when I interviewed for a work study position at KUOW, I remember waking up on the morning of my interview with, I believe it was Steve Scher and Marcy Silman, and Caitlin Duffy may have been there as well, and not knowing what the frequency was, or not, trying to find the frequency to listen to the show that I was going to go interview to be the work study student on, so I would have some context. And the weirdest thing is, the show was called Weekday. I remember turning my little clock radio in my bedroom to the station, and they were, of all people, they were interviewing, I think, Rick Riz. It was either Rick Riz or Dave Niehaus. Like this, very local affairs public radio station was for whatever reason talking to one of the Mariners broadcasters. So I thought, well, this will be just fine. Like this is my cup of tea. But all that is to say, like I don't remember our family at all being a public radio family, but I do remember listening to that joke show and loving it. And I do think that semicolon joke, if compacted down,
yes, it was a little,
could have worked very well.
It was
on that
a little
program.
long. Are you saying that I should have maybe considered compacting it down for
No,
the
not at all.
purposes
Not
of
at all.
TBTL as well? Because
no. If anything, we want to take the long way here, Andrew, and I really do mean that.
Not unlike that new Burger King commercial that claims we've sucked for the past several decades. We're listening. We heard you, and we're changing. And that's how I am with future Weekly Week articles that I read to you, Luke. I will.
I mean, do you want to?
Do
you want me to activate the top story sound effect so we can just get into that Burger King ad and talk about Alice Cooper tomorrow?
Do you know about the ad I'm talking about?
I sure do.
Oh my
Been seeing
God!
It during the NBA Finals and things like. Hold on, please.
Okay.
Please hold.
Okay.
Hello and welcome to Top Story.
It's the one where they say that they fired the king, right? And he's like leaving the building like a person who does he even have a box with his stuff in it?
He does. Now, which made me feel bad for who's your director friend. I was just bringing him up the other day. The guy
Ruben Fleischer.
Ruben Fleischer, I believe, directed those first commercials with the kind of uncanny Burger King king,
odd rictus,
and they
faced
throw
king.
him directly under the bus in this new ad campaign.
Yeah.
But now I was unfamiliar with this. I have not seen this commercial in the wild, as Genevieve says. But I was doing. I'm trying to think. Somebody sent it to me, or I stumbled on it and doing some research on something else. And the one I saw was like a full 90-second commercial. I don't know if the one that's airing. Usually they make the long ones, but then they chop it up for different purposes. So, tell me about the commercial you saw. Is it like a long, almost like mini documentary that goes back to like the 70s and how happy people were eating Burger King, but they're not anymore, and they show a sad guy looking sadly at his burger in a Burger King?
It was much shorter than that because it was broadcast television. And honestly, the only thing I remember, again, I think this was during like the NBA Finals, I was seeing this. I don't think they've been playing them during Mariners broadcast, but I was watching some, sort of network television type of dealio. And what I just remember was like seeing them say something like, we heard you, and something about, it's almost like it could almost be a No Kings protest. Is there a tie in there?
That would be funny. What if the whole thing was a misunderstanding?
What if
Burger
No
King
Kings was
HQ?
just a serious psyop from Burger King? That would be incredible.
Hey, Weekly Week, are you listening to this? This
Yeah,
is
we
an
could boot
opportunity
that back
to
up.
boot it back up.
But
Burger King CEO massively misunderstands No Kings protest movement.
Because and what I'm seeing, I'm kind of half paying attention to the commercial, but then it's like what I realize is they're not. It's not even a joke about getting rid of the king. It's like they're saying that they lost their way and that they got too into the king ruling everything, and then the guy's leaving. The king character is leaving the building like the way when a person has been told they're fired and their key card doesn't work anymore.
Yep.
And I was like, I mean, it is a bit because this is all a bit. Life is a bit, Andrew. But what I mean is, I was like, oh no, they're really kind of staking their new claim to like, we're getting rid of the king and we're putting you in charge. And weirdly, like for me, it was like, I almost had like, can we take a moment? Can we play taps? Can we pour some out for this king? Because it's not quite on the level of if McDonald's just said, we're getting rid of Ronald McDonald because honestly, we find him creepy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not quite that level, but I was like, wow, they're committing to this idea that like they're getting rid of that guy now. Anyway, that was the only thing that stuck. The thing that stuck to my brain was like, oh wow, they've clearly, after I'm sure a lot of meetings, because part of the whole deal with advertising, the work of it, the hard part is creating a brand and a brand identity and a vibe. And once you've done that and established it, it's really hard to steer that aircraft carrier of that thing. Like you're making a big decision to like revoke the king's key card and send him out of the building. And like you said, it's also just kind of like, it's them in a way saying like, we've really screwed up and we've seen the error of our ways, which is also not a thing that corporate America does until they feel like it's the only option.
I have so much to say on this, obviously. But so the first thing I'm going to do, I think, is maybe play this commercial, okay? This is the full version of the commercial. It begins with a man sitting in what I guess you don't... Oh, yeah, you do see Burger King branding on his cup. So he's the only man in this Burger King. It's actually cleaner and nicer than the Burger King near my house, but it's supposed to be drab and dreary. It's a little bit blue. You know, they can't make it a total
Is that Burger
shithole.
King when you say by your house? Is it across from Sprouts?
Yeah, that one. I went.
That's the Burger King that I think I peed my pants.
Oh
in.
yeah, it came up
going.
recently. Yes, exactly. That's the one that came up recently on the show. Okay, here, listen to this. The voice over will do a lot of the work here, but you're also going to be seeing a lot of like retro images. And by the way, this is a smart thing they're doing. Is Burger King is reinvesting in some of their more retro campaigns, like even that song that they brought back a couple of summers ago that was like kind of a bop, that was a reworking of their original song back in the 70s, and like that classic logo of theirs. When I went into that Burger King where you pissed your pants, I stopped very quickly and I
what's it going to take to get me a plaque?
I read the plaque and
in that booth.
I paid tribute, and then I ordered my double Whopper. But the kid behind the counter was wearing like a pretty bomb ass Burger King shirt. It's like plain brown with like the logo just like very simply in the middle of it. I even asked him about it. I'm like, is there a chance I could get one of those? And the answer was not yes. But anyway, so I do think they're smart to lean back into some of their retro look, and this commercial does show a lot of like smiling faces of like 1970s fast food workers who look like mods and stuff.
What happened? There was a time Burger King used to be king.
This guy is literally shaking his head at his burger. He's elbows on the table, burger clenched in his hands in front of him, and then he's just like shaking his head. This is a Burger King customer just being like, what am I doing? What am I doing eating this thing?
What happened? There was a time Burger King used to be king. Flame grilled burgers, served by folks only happy when you had it your way. No matter where or when or who, every meal felt special.
Spotted at a Burger King in Kalamazoo.
Because you felt special. It was great.
Take me to Burger King.
But somehow, somewhere, fast food just fell off. Us included.
Now we're about halfway through this commercial, and they're going to show like a deflating crown on top of a Burger King building. Go ahead.
I'm trying to place, what is this song?
It's The Who.
That's
Out
The Who?
Here in the fields. Yeah, is it
Okay.
Baba O'Reilly, I believe is the name of that song.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's Baba O'Reilly. Anyway, I do think of Ross Reynolds when I hear it because of the theme song.
Well, he
of
was,
the conversation.
I believe he was Eminent Decay.
Well, Decay, we've gotten into this. Decay was how he labeled it in the system because he had a fade out decay. And it's just called Eminence.
It's called Eminence?
I believe the name of the song is Eminence or something like that.
I believe
But anyway, a big part of this campaign is clearly Burger King was like, well, let's find out what people are saying on social media and like let's start our own like little like information gathering campaign. And so this is the part of the commercial where you're going to hear like clips of people talking into their phones being like, Burger King has lost its way.
And that's not good. So we started listening. I even gave my number out. Hi, I'm Tom, the president. And this is what you called us out on. Old restaurants, slow service, simple mistakes.
What is this?
And this thing is just pitiful.
How am I supposed to eat like a king when you're feeding me like a peasant?
And that this guy definitely wasn't helping any
This
of
is
it.
the king.
Which, fair point. So we fired the king and crowned you. Reinvesting nationwide. One restaurant, one team, one burger at a time. And the iconic Whopper, it's never tasted better, thanks to you. Flame grilled, stacked high, and never smashed in the bag. After all, when we say you rule, we mean it. And we're just getting started. Because there's a new king, and it's you.
At the end, we see the guy in a new Burger King building, and he's holding the hamburger in the same way, but he's smiling at it and nodding. And let me tell you what I told Genevieve on the show, and this is not a bit. This is actually a true story about this commercial. this makes me feel bad for liking Burger King. Burger King is still my go-to fast food restaurant of choice. Like maybe Wendy's would be maybe Wendy's would beat it out if there was a closer one, but it's head and shoulders above McDonald's for me. I never crave McDonald's, but if I am craving fast food, my favorite shampoo. Why do you
Head and Shoulders?
Head and Shoulders. So, anyway, I got done watching this and I was like, I guess I'm a sucker. I guess I've been eating shit. Like, this commercial literally made me feel bad about a brand that I had a good feeling towards. That is not how commercials should make you feel.
And that's because you feel like they are throwing the towel in so hard on everything they've been doing for the last 15 years?
I've been eating Burger King for the last 15 years. I have not noticed a decline in the quality of the burgers. I actually do think I have in McDonald's a little bit. Maybe it's just my taste has changed. McDonald's feels like if you eat a burger at McDonald's, it sort of feels like there's more like, I don't know, non-meat filler in there or something. I don't know what it is, and I could be totally wrong about that.
Let's run that to 100%, and I can go back.
Right, exactly. But they're like Burger King was doing well. They were the ones who really championed, speaking of like kind of the meatless Whopper a while there, and people were talking about it. It's good, and like I think that you can taste sort of the flame broiled flavor that they advertise or whatever. Like I like Burger King. I have liked Burger King this whole time, and
like an idiot.
And Burger King is now saying like, you're an idiot, Andrew, because we've sucked. We have been so shitty for so long. Look at the sad version of Andrew sitting in a Burger King like a chump enjoying one of our crappy burgers.
Burger King, where his friend Luke once peed his pants, and no one even noticed.
And nobody has cleaned
Actually, no,
it
those
up.
were the good days of Burger King. See, we want to go back to the era when Luke was peeing his pants constantly in this restaurant.
Okay, let me make one more point about the marketing on this, though, because I thought you mentioned something interesting about like how McDonald's is not coming out and saying we're gonna fire Ronald McDonald or whatever, because you don't have to.
He is being investigated by the DOJ.
Well,
although that's the one malicious prosecution. That's the one lawfare I think I can get behind.
I don't even want to bring this up, but I'm pretty sure he's in the files. I can't. I swear. There was so much information like going around about about those Epstein files, but I'm pretty sure that there's some connection there. But
he was seeing if Jeff could get Grimace into Dartmouth.
Listen, Grimace just wanted a new plane, a new private jet. Okay, and Ronald said, "I'm just gonna pull some strings and ask some favors." I didn't get into anything. Listen. Brands can go one of two ways when they want to retire a campaign or even a character. They can just like kind of stop doing it. And you can easily do that because people aren't watching so closely. Even me, Luke. People aren't watching so closely that they're like, well, why wasn't the brawny man in that brawny commercial? I saw a mom, 2 kids, a school teacher, and a garbage truck driver. No brawny man. What is going on over a brawny? Nobody's saying that. They're just like, I don't know, there's a brawny commercial. But so brawny, if they wanted to move away from from a giant selling their product, they can just sort of shelve that quietly, move on to some other things, and quietly bring it back when they want a retro campaign or whatever, and it can be fine. Or brands can make a big deal of it and release a press release like that we talked about Mr. Clean.
Mr. Clean.
Oh, Mr. Clean is retiring, or we fired the
get
king,
some earned media.
Or they killed the Mr. Peanut. Boy, Mr. Clean and Mr. Peanut. Boy, I guess both looking for work/life these days. But you know what I mean? And so they can do that. And so I think that that's part of this too. It's like, we fired the king. Oh, now you can put out a press release about it. But really, I really appreciate more the McDonald's way of doing things. Like, we probably don't need Ronald McDonald right now. He's a little bit creepy. But hey, you know what? Don't make a big deal of it. Put a cartoon version of him in some sort of cartoon commercial for kids, and you still, have the IP, and you can roll it out when you need to.
Like, you can never, ever have the king back now.
Well,
you know what I mean?
You can, and then you make a big deal about that, too.
What? He went to therapy?
We hired the king back.
When you see the king walking out of the Burger King HQ with a box of his stuff, with a key card that is no longer functional, I don't think you come back from that. I don't know what's the framing for when
Peanut
they let
is
him
back already. I mean, they didn't.
Yeah, but he was never even killed. That was all a Super Bowl BS. And what they never said was Mr. Peanut was an abject failure, and that's why we're killing him. They've framed the king as incompetent, domineering. not good at flame broiling
There's
things.
a really
By the way,
sad shot of him sitting on a hotel bed hanging up the phone as he gets the news. I don't know if that made the cut of the version that's airing, but it's also my understanding, I could be wrong about this, but it's my understanding that he and Mike Vrabel are both in the same sort of program and are getting the treatment that they need, and maybe can both make a great comeback.
it was a complete and total coincidence that the King and Mr. Peanut were at that spa in Sedona. They were both there with other mascots.
It was a friendly hug.
Other corporate mascots.
Are you kidding
and
me?
they just happened to be holding hands looking at the sunset a couple of times like friends do.
Somebody make that and don't use AI.
I wanted to see if Tom Curtis is a real person, the CEO of Burger King, who I guess is doing the VO for that, because I thought it sounded like, I think the guy is maybe named Jake Johnson. I think he was on New Girl. I don't know. I mix up. There's just there's these 2 or 3 comedians who are all kind of, they look a little similar and they're from shows that I never watched. And so I'm always kind of mixing them up in my mind a little bit. Anyway, I wanted to see if that was a real guy, Tom Curtis. And then I went to LinkedIn or I Googled Tom Burger King, and there's a guy, his name is Tom Curtis, President U.S. and Canada of Burger King. And what's funny is if you click on the LinkedIn link for him, it just says message me directly. You can skip all this LinkedIn stuff. He is
nice.
very, I mean, who knows if he would respond, but it's obviously this is a truth and reconciliation commission being launched by Burger King to be if you are having a bad experience, you can talk to Tom right now. You don't even have to go through LinkedIn. You can just DM him and
he said in this ad, I gave out my number, but that's bullshit because that number is that's a Google Voice number that other you know what I mean? It's the CEO did not give out his number.
Of course not. But what they're trying to do is also just create this sense, me, a random podcaster, going to his LinkedIn page on my phone, so I don't disconnect our internet here, and it's just going you don't even have to use LinkedIn. You can just message me right now. That's how available I am to you, which is all just completely, it's all sort of an act to try to give an impression. But I mean, this is just, to me, it's interesting because they obviously did 1 million focus groups to try to ask people. So it would appear that their sales must be down or plateaued or something. There's something with their sales that had them concerned. And then they went about trying to figure out, well, why are the sales down, or why are things not trending in the right direction, or whatever. And they somehow decided it was because people did not find the idea of a Burger King appealing in some way. And I mean, the irony is that they've always, I mean, isn't it "You rule"? Isn't that's been their tagline for a while? I thought that actually had sort of effectively, they'd made the King kind of this weird merry prankster. Again, with that Rick, I'm very proud I used rictus correctly, by the way. That's exactly what is on the face of that king. I looked it up. But I thought they actually did an okay job of him just being this kind of chaos Muppet, but that "you rule" and putting that in the songs and stuff, and that little catchy "you rule," that sticks in your head. And that to me made me feel this is a benevolent fiefdom, if anything. Yes, the king is technically in charge, but I actually rule on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
So I thought they did an okay job with that. But anyway, they obviously decided that that was what was holding them back, and also that that they felt like their quality of their stuff had kind of gone to shit, and that they needed to really just air it out. Because the alternative is, like you said, to just low-key the King and start talking about these tasty burgers or something. Just put some new stuff out there, and you don't have to make this big announcement. But I mean, I guess the interesting thing will be if it's successful or not. If this drives, more business to admit, to say we really lost our way, but now we're back because you rule. I don't know. It seems like a roll of the dice, because like you said, your feeling as a customer is was I an idiot for going there? Are you more or less likely to go to Burger King next time you're in the mood?
I'm actually less. I mean, slightly. I don't think that on the occasion that I'm going to go to Burger King, it's so few and far between the instances are. And also, if I'm in that mindset, I'm not really thinking well, well, I'm not thinking straight, you know. Like, just like I'm just Pavlovianly finding myself there in the parking lot on Aurora. But anyway, I wanted to switch gears here for a second because while we're on the topic, and I appreciate you obliging me like this. I know I'm sort of taking over the show with After These Messages content, but I did record an episode with Genevieve yesterday, as we do on Tuesday nights, and the theme of yesterday's show was commercials featuring people in full body casts. And my God, never has it been easier for me to produce a show. I have no idea why the idea popped in my head. We were on deadline. I was getting a very late start in prepping the show. And I was like, I don't know. Sometimes you see that in commercials. I type in TV commercial, full body cast. And it was like the old idiom, shooting fish in a barrel. Sorry, Wes. It's like feeding fish in a barrel, as we're supposed to say, I think. And I just found commercial after commercial after commercial of the trope of somebody being in a full body cast, often not being able to reach the thing they need or something like that. But there were some other. There's
got to be a Got Milk. Speaking of
that's
Got
a
Milk
very
ad.
famous one. Yep, there's an iconic one where a guy is fed a cookie by the daughter of his roommate in the hospital.
Yes.
His roommate's doing better, but the girl puts a cookie in his mouth. He enjoys it, but then,
we're being honest though, like which came first, that commercial or the one where the guy's in hell because there's no milk? Because somebody should have been like, we've already done a version.
That's
of
what
this.
I said to Vives on the show yesterday. I was just like, that apparently like a huge chunk of this campaign was people eating cookies and not being able to access milk. Like what else? You should have seen the shots of milk too. It's like it's this guy's family and they're the ones who are drinking the milk, and like the milk is overflowing. It's almost like that sexy gas station scene in Zoolander. I don't know if you know.
Oh, right, when they're spraying the gas.
Yeah, it's like milk is just like delicious milk is going all over the place as this family, while the other guy is parch-mouthed in this all-body cast. Okay, the cast thing is just what we were talking about, and there was an Energizer commercial that fit into this theme as well. In fact, it was a little bit blue, Luke. I'll just describe it to you. I don't have to play the whole thing, but there is a guy. He's got casts on his arms and legs or whatever, but he's convalescing at home in his living room. His wife says, "I'll be back in a little bit." He's like, "Okay." He picks up the remote control. He's actually got some functionality. And he turns on the TV and switches to what seems to be a porn channel, which is weird because he's like clicking through the channels, and it's like children's programming, news, and then the next one is the porn channel, and you hear like the chicka chicka wow wow music, and you're just like, man, they just put that right next to the news, huh? On your cable package, like how
if you pay enough,
you got kids in the house, like what's going on? But then the joke is, as soon as he lands on that channel, the wife yells from the other room, "Hey, Father O'Malley is here to check in on you." Like, I guess priests just drop by unannounced to check on invalids. And now his batteries are dead in his remote control.
Oh, it's for Energizer.
And it's for Energizer, and he cannot click away as this stern priest is coming in to check on him, and he's going to be caught. And his wife is very upset when she comes back and she sees that he's watching porn. She's giving the Cheryl look, the look that Cheryl gives David on or Larry David on Curb Your Enthusiasm. But all of that is to say, at the very end of the commercial, there's a little voiceover, and it's very short, but I immediately recognized it. And I was wondering, is this one of those things where because I was bragging to you the other day. I was like, I
asked you what is a thing you track,
and I heard it like really. You're like, what is just one thing that you know? Just give me one fact. Just
say one word.
Just say one word with conviction. Just one goddamn thing is what I believe you said to me. I can go back to
exactly
the So I'm just going to go to the very end of this commercial and tell me. You might already just know that this guy did this campaign, but I don't. And I noticed.
I don't remember this commercial. I've been watching it muted on my phone while you were describing it, but I haven't heard anything. So this will be brand new to me.
I mentioned the spicy content. You're like, I got to get eyes on this, don't I? All right.
I bookmarked it.
Okay.
Should have used Energizer. They keep going.
Harry Shearer.
Yes. Okay. I mean, I don't know why I'm so excited for you, but Genevieve, I played it for Genevieve a million times. She's like, no, I have no idea. And then I said, once I told her Harry Shearer, she's like, oh, I guess I hear it a little bit. I would have never gotten it. And like you, I got it immediately. I'm like, oh, well, the only problem is I think in my head I said Hank Azaria because I get those guys confused. But I knew who I was talking about.
That's the last mile problem we've established for you.
I knew what I was talking about. I knew that it was like the Reverend Lovejoy or whatever.
Yes. Harry Shearer. What a time to be Harry Shearer.
Yeah.
In the 1990s, it's like, The Simpsons is the juggernaut that it was. Les Show is carried on multiple public radio stations.
Les Show still has a little bit of a heartbeat, the same heartbeat that it began with.
I think Les Show, this is not going to descend into another Les Show, Les Chat, but I do think last time we talked about it, I was Googling it, and I think it's still happening to some degree.
So.
And I'm very happy about that for the record.
Yeah, in fact, I dialed it up after we talked about it on the show. I dialed it up and listened to it that night when I was playing darts. And it's exactly the same. It's a little bit meandering, and he just sort of fumbles his way. It begins with him fumbling his way through press releases and news articles, sort of. And I really do like the fact that it's not very polished, and it has not changed a bit.
Speaking of old-timey radio, and then we maybe should wrap her up because we've also got a business boy meeting today. But I did go to the New York offices of Marketplace yesterday, and it was very fun to get to. We were there kind of late in the day, so it wasn't exactly bustling, but being in a public radio kind of newsroom / studios / just a certain kind of even office furniture, kind of. I actually took a video of it. I was going to send you just to be like, I miss being in these spaces, and in fact, I think almost everybody there, I was talking to Erica, who is one of the producers of The Splendid Table, who said that for her show anyway, nobody has to come into Manhattan anymore. Like post-pandemic, a lot of that, if you were already working at a satellite location, you don't have to go in a lot for these studios, but there's just a certain design to a public radio studio that was built out in the early 2000s, between 2000 and 2010, and the kind of office furniture that came with that, and just the overall vibe of a place like that. I love it so much, and I really miss it when I'm around it, If I had to get up and commute into Manhattan every day from Brooklyn or whatever, I'd probably treasure the opportunity to stay home. But just being in that space was very nostalgic for me, but also it was interesting because, last week when we were trying to find a place to film in New York, just because I was interviewing Francis Lamb from The Splendid Table about this the TV story I'm doing, and I was trying to kind of show off and be a big man to our TV producer, by flexing that I still have connections at APM, which it turns out I really don't, because almost everyone that we worked with has sort of moved on to one thing or another or whatever. So after saying, yeah, I'll ask about the studio, I then just completely started war dialing people. By that I mean just spraying emails around to the producers of The Splendid Table, to somebody at the media department of American Public Media, basically saying, hey, this is good earned media for Splendid Table. The idea being maybe the PR folks would be interested in helping facilitate this because they like The Splendid Table getting mentioned on CBS Sunday Morning. I was trying to work this from every single angle. And within an afternoon, this had been locked in, and the folks from Splendid were super helpful. We're all got our passes, and we're ready to go. So that was, let's say, last Thursday. Okay. So cut to yesterday, Tuesday. And at about 11 in the morning or something on Tuesday, I get an email from somebody at APM at facilities who's like, hey, well, let me see what I can help on this. Okay, it's $117 an hour for studio. It was a whole list of what the studio rental things were and stuff. And it was not written in any kind of a terse or officious way, but it was so reminded me of what it is also to work at a big company or be at a big company, which is oh, we already have our badges to get in. This has been thoroughly worked out between a small group of people and is happening, and there's a camera crew. The camera crew may have literally already been there setting up their lights, and then there's somebody else who's the right hand to the left hand. We've already got it worked out with the left hand, and the right hand is going, well, here are our studio rates. Just that feeling of being that can never happen at TBTL because there's only 3 of us, and one of us, me, is checked out. So
well, you're just handing the keys over to everybody. You're like, yeah, just
anybody.
Go to Andrew. You need a studio, just go to Andrew's house anytime, day or night, and he will.
Andrew has an open door policy. With his home studio, I'd like to tell you, but it was funny to, and I'm not even saying that it was some big, transgression or dropping of the ball, but there are days when I miss us having a cool building. I mean, we never even really had that with TBTL, but even Cairo, just going somewhere and being around other people who are making radio, that's something that I always enjoy. But then also remembering that, with big companies, there's also just somebody who's going okay, well, here are the studio rates. It's we've already figured this out.
Actually, let me first of all, echo both sides of that, because that's exactly why I like going into KUOW on the occasions that they invite me over there to like be one of their
talking heads. Call it what it is.
I was going to say talking
pundits.
I was going to say talking fools, but that implies that the other people are as foolish as I am. But I'll go over there sometimes to be on the podcast or even the Friday show with our pal Bill Radke, and I love it. I vibe off that energy. I would guess maybe even a little bit more than you. I'm a little bit more of a company man. I love being around people talking into microphones and having that, as much as I do enjoy the flexibility and everything that goes along with this job and having a studio in my home. I'm really glad that I have like every 3 months or so an excuse to go over to KOW and like, stop over at Phyllis's cubicle and chat with her a little bit. You know what I mean? Like there's something nice about that. Having
said that. By the way, I hear that word on the street is that she's been kind of slacking at that job because she's mostly getting Gus shout outs on local radio.
Oh, yeah? Did Gus get a shout out?
You obviously didn't click on the video link that we both received this morning.
No, I haven't. It's funny you should say that. My text tab is open on my computer right now, and I see I've missed a whole bunch of stuff between you and Chris and me that I need to catch up on after the show.
You didn't even listen. Oh, I forgot. I'm 3 hours ahead of you, so that explains it a little bit.
And
I've been having multiple important. No, Phyllis got, I don't know, the station in Seattle, I think, plays Jackie and Bender, gave Gus a graduation shout out today.
Oh, no kidding. Oh, that's great.
So that was the nature of my joke, just saying that she's
nice.
been spending all her time getting Gus shout out.
Oh, this is great. Well, congratulations to Gus and to Phyllis.
Don't give him another one.
Oh, shit.
Kid's going to, honestly, he's going to have an inflated ego.
I'll beep it.
Will you cut that out,
You'll
please?
just hear beep, Gus. But let me tell you, I'm just going to tell the listeners a story that I told you. I'll redact a couple of names, but this is also what it's like to work with or for a company like KUOW is, I'm, like I said, I'm over there at least once every 3 months, probably more than that between the radio show and the podcast. And of course I used to work there, and I'm friends with so many of the people that work there. I guess there's a younger generation now. There's more and more people I don't know. But, I'm personal friends with a lot of the people who work there still, including some of the people who would make some managerial style decisions. And what was going on in my home? I think they had to cut power in my house for this renovation thing we're doing in the basement several months ago or years ago or however long this has been going on. And for 1 or possibly 2 days, I just needed a place where I could set up a microphone and my computer and record with you. It didn't even have to be a radio station. Like, I have my own microphone. I had my own little mixing board. I had a computer. I just needed internet and electricity. And I thought, did I say tricity? I think I did. Electricity, as you say it, Luke, properly on ZBS News.
Well, the funny part is I think you've got Chris Hayes saying tricity now. I heard him
say it too, and I felt validated.
Talking about AI during the series he recently did. And I caught a tricity in there, and I thought, Andrew, you've put your evil inside one of the last smart people in the media. Let's
he either called that out to us or something, because that rings a bell. Like, somebody pointed out that Chris says it too, and it might have been Chris pointing out that he says it too. Anyway, my point is, I was just looking for a place, and I asked Genevieve too. I'm like, maybe I could come into your work if there's there's a lot of open desks at workplaces these days because of the work from home policy. You would think that somebody would be happy to share some space. And I did say, I will be talking into a microphone. I'm going to be doing the podcast, so I need a door that I can close. I don't want to be in the middle of the newsroom at a cubicle doing TBTL. Obviously, that wouldn't work for a million different reasons. But all I was asking for was a little bit of desk space somewhere. And I asked my buddy at KUOW, and this is somebody who's not really in a managerial position, a producer over there, somebody very close to us. You know who I'm talking about. And I said, hey, do you think you could find me some space maybe to do my show there for a day or two? Just think it would be fun, it's radio. They're doing radio.
Yeah.
And I will say, he did what I probably would do and you would never do in this situation, and rightfully so. He said, yeah, of course, let me ask so-and-so and so-and-so. And basically he's going to ask his boss. I would like to point out, his boss, or maybe this is his boss's boss or whatever, another close personal friend of mine. I know who he asked. He said, let me ask. And then a couple of days go by, and then he gets back to me. He's like, oh, man, I'm really sorry. I asked so-and-so, and then he had to ask his boss, and then his boss said, no, I'm also personal friends with his boss's boss's boss. Like, I know these dudes. And he said, no, they can't do it because, you're not working on a KUOW project, and they just don't. And it was like one of those corporate things of like, we don't want to be associated with whatever you say into your own microphone, into your own computer, down the line to Luke, using our electricity and Wi-Fi. It was just like one of those things. Whereas I asked Genevieve, and she said, yeah, you know what? So-and-so is out. We'll just put you in his office. And then when I was there, I saw Genevieve's boss, and I said, oh, I'm here to do a podcast. He's like, oh, okay, no problem. And like, she didn't run it up a chain. She didn't give an opportunity for a bunch of people to say no. And I'm not blaming my friend who asked his boss. I would have done the same thing because I'm a company man. But it's exactly what you're talking about. It's just kind of like, what, you have some sort of policy about me, your friend, coming in at an empty desk that you're probably worried about filling since the pandemic? Right. Like, it was just such a perfect example of that. Well, we have policies in place.
Well, you know what else? I hadn't even thought about this because I think you and I had maybe talked about this off air, but like, I wonder also if it happened, if the no was because my name got associated with it. Because there is definitely at least one person still there who we haven't talked ever directly about the person on the show. It's not any of our friends, who sometimes get mentions on here who work at that station. But there's somebody in particular who I think absolutely loathes me to the end of the earth.
Would you say that he's almost burning with his hatred of
say
you? Is he a man who's
frustration
burning?
With me I'd say it's definitely almost like a man who's burning with anger and resentment towards
like
me.
a
Some of it,
burning man. Okay.
I would say some of it completely legitimate. Actually,
I know. I've been
and some
to your
of it
house.
not.
I know.
Like
I know
some of
why,
it
yeah.
not, and some of it yes. What I would say is, it started out illegitimate, and that made me mad, and then I made it legitimate through some of my actions. But there is a person there who, and also, by the way, that person has a certain amount of responsibility for, let's just say, facilities.
That is true.
And so,
I don't think it got to the Burning Man, but it might have. I think I know who it got to, and that's what galls me even more. I think it's somebody who I helped once move a mattress into their house, to be honest.
Well, now that's getting more and more specific.
I think it was a mattress, or
like,
maybe it was a chest of drawers.
I feel like every time over the course, when I was like a 22-year-old, very, very, very newly starting out, full employee at that radio station, I just didn't. I wasn't good then, and I remained not great now at going through the proper channels for things. I think I actually, in this day and age, I think I have a little bit more respect for and understanding of the channels. I really do. Like, I think I would have, nowadays I'd be more receptive to why certain things can't be done, or, why we're not going to do that. I would just now chalk it up to, well, that's just life at a big institution or a big corporation or whatever you want to call it. Back then I was so like, well, why can't we? Or what? That makes no sense. And I think I was pretty petulant about stuff. And I also had like no cred. I was like the former work study student who then had gone and worked in conservative talk radio and then come back to KUOW and was like kind of not taking no for an answer on a lot of things. And so that person, and then it must just have been and remain salt in the wound that this person who I had some really big conflicts with, who still works there all these years later, that now it's like, I have a show on that station at noon every Saturday. There was a long time where I would come back to do Week in Review, and I'd be going around high-fiving and glad-handing. And I'm not saying everyone there has some great, particular opinion of me, but it's just like over the course of 20 years to have that snot-nosed intern just getting to continue to be on the station in a variety of things. And you have nothing to say about it. You can't do anything about it. But there's one thing you could do, which is if the guy that he co-hosts the podcast with wants to post up in a studio, you might be able to kill that one. And boy, that'd be some kind of satisfaction. It might not have been that, but I
gotta
be
say,
shocked.
like, no offense, that's centering yourself pretty far into this. I don't think
That's
that it was
exactly
any,
what that guy would say.
I do not think that was any connection to you. I really do, because again.
So you screwed this up all on your own?
Yes,
you didn't even need my bad reputation?
But that's the thing with anything like this. If you're asking, the answer is always going to be no. I mean, that's one of the things I've learned from you, and that's kind of why I brought up Genevieve's thing. Like, she was just like, no, I'll just give you the desk. And, you know, if anybody is bothered by this, like, I can apologize, but I just don't think that there's going to be any need to. And I ran into Genevieve's boss, and guess what? We're also friends outside of work, and nobody cared. And there was a door. Like, as long as I wasn't disturbing anybody, I wasn't, you know what I mean? My usage of the internet was not hurting anybody else's usage of the internet. My being in an empty, I mean, I guess literally.
Everything we said on that episode, Andrew, is co-signed by the University of Washington.
Exactly. And
so
that
you
was
know
the
that,
thing.
at least.
That was the thing. It wasn't even like, you know what? We just don't have the space right now. Like, if they had honestly, if the answer had been, we don't have the space right now, it's just a little bit chaotic right now. Like, absolutely. I say that to people when they want to spend the night at my house, like out of town guests.
Open door policy.
Things are a little.
Andrew has an open door policy.
Right now. Things are chaotic. Yeah.
Except when it's closed.
It's always chaotic here. So, like, I honestly, like, I don't think that, to be very clear, in fact, I'm glad to follow up with this. I don't think that I have a God-given right or a Luke-given right or a Burning Man-given right to do the show at KUW. Like, I honestly think that saying, we just don't have the space for that, it might just be a distraction. Anything like that would almost be fine. The distraction, maybe not so much. But you could just say, no, it's not going to work for us. That's fine. The fact that the answer sort of came with we ran it up the chain, and it ran up the chain, and the answer was no, having some like non-KUW branded content being made within these hallowed walls. I mean, that was the answer. It had some, not in those words, but the answer was no, like that is, we can't kind of condone another non-KUW product. Was like, you gotta be effing me.
Well, not to mention the fact that in these fractured media times, you know, the thing that legacy and sort of terrestrial radio stations are always dealing with is like, how do we expand into other ways of doing this content, and how do we, you know, like, I'm not saying that our show is the biggest hit of all time, but like, if anything, there should be ways to try to do a collab. Like, hey, there's this thing that's been going on for almost 20 years that's got some number of listeners, and it's got 3 full-time employees. And like, there's a, you know, I'm not saying that ask by you for studio space should have led to some sort of, you know, huge collaboration, but just like the idea that the first thought is, what's the liability there, and or no, versus, oh, we have this kind of cool thing that's happening in our backyard made by our friends, and who, you know, what are the ways that we could actually all kind of have fun and benefit from this, versus, well, I don't know what the legal on that is. It's just, it is not, it doesn't make me feel super duper hopeful for some of the long-term implications of how how we get our media is changing, you know, as it pertains to you know, to some of these bigger companies and places that just have a kind of a way of doing stuff that's was really useful for a long time, but is kind of becoming more and more, you know, outmoded, I guess.
I'm just going to say the name. I think it was Chris Morgan, host of the KUW podcast,
The Wild.
Into the Wild, exactly.
The Wild, Andrew, please.
It's not Into the Wild?
No, I think that's the Crack Hour book. I think it's just called The Wild.
Oh, can we start a show? Yeah, you're right. Can I start a show?
I only know that because I still hear ads for it, and I'm always happy because, you know, Carrie was going to be a producer on that show back in the day. She helped do some video stuff with that guy, and they were launching something, and I remember they started doing it. Well, she was going to, not with the KUOW part of it, but his kind of overall brand of doing like outdoor content and wildlife content. And I remember when they launched that show at KUOW, I thought, well, this is really cool. We'll see how long it goes. And that was years ago, and I still hear ads for it. So
yeah, that is true.
The Wild.
I actually don't, for whatever it's, obviously I'm joking. I don't know Chris Morgan. I was just trying to think of one of their podcast hosts. And
you know who doesn't have any more podcasts that I can tell? Well, that's not true, but none of the ones like we did is APM. It's just APM Reports. So it's just the documentary side of things. What I mean is they don't have any more bullshit podcasts like we used to do, which was kind of the fun part.
Right.
No room for bullshit anymore.
No.
So
which I proposed that as a guiding principle on TBTL, and it was weirdly John who was against it. He's like, no, we are here for
it was
the
like,
bullshit.
Without the bullshit, we don't have a lot going for us.
He just sort of pointed to a stack of papers. I don't even know what it meant.
Pointed to a pie chart, actually.
He did. I was thinking that. I don't think I wasn't thinking that.
Did you see the look on my face when he pointed to that pie chart?
Hey, let's keep on talking in code and block the listeners out. John's going to point at that pie chart even harder.
All right. That's enough way inside baseball that only you and I and John would possibly enjoy. And probably not John. But anyway, let's go ahead and wrap things up for today. But guess what? We're going to be right back here tomorrow with more Imaginary Radio. For all of you, I will still be here in New York for one more day. So hopefully I'll have more adventures to share from my time here and other such things. In the meantime, hope you all have a great rest of your Wednesday and you take care of yourselves. Go Mariners. And please remember, no mountain too tall.
And good luck to all.
Power out.